for the next 5 days. I'm hosting my radio show from the Radio Row there. So I'm going to have a pretty good seat, and I'll be able to observe what's going on. But there'll be a lot of people there that are talking about smaller government. Yet they're the same people that don't want to cut a nickel out of Medicare. They don't want to cut a nickel out of Social Security. Well, how can you want smaller government if you want the biggest government programs to get bigger? So, and the Republican candidates, they want the votes. They want the votes of all the people who collect Social Security, who collect Medicare. In fact, a speech that was given in Florida about a week ago. I can't remember if it was in Tampa or where in Florida it was. But Paul Ryan brought his mother down there, right, and basically swore his allegiance to Medicare. And he talked about how great it was that his grandmother depended on Medicare, that his mother depends on Medicare, and he wants to make sure we all always depend on Medicare. Now, I don't know why Paul Ryan is a pretty successful guy. I mean, I think his household income between he and his wife, they make about $500,000 a year. Why can't he take care of his mother? Why does he want everybody else? Why does he want me to take care of his mother? Can't I just take care of my own mother? And he mentioned that his mother plays tennis every week. Okay, well, if she can play tennis, maybe she can get a part-time job. Maybe she can take care of herself. Why is the standard bearer of the Republican Party, this guy is supposed to be the champion, right? According to the conventional media, this guy is, as free market as they come, right? He's radical right. Yet he wants his mother to be a ward of the state, and he refuses to accept any personal responsibility for his own mother. And he brags about the fact that she wants to live off the government, and he wants to make sure that this program is here forever. True conservatives, remember Barry Goldwater? People like that were opposed to Medicare when it was first proposed. What happened to those conservatives that are still Republicans? In fact, Romney and Paul Ryan, their whole campaign is, we want to get rid of Romney, we want to get rid of Obamacare. Why? So they can preserve Medicare. I mean, if you don't like Obamacare, then why do you like Medicare? It's the same concept. Basically, Obamacare is just Medicare for everybody. It's Medicare plus. So it doesn't make any sense. It's ideologically inconsistent to say that Obamacare is a disaster, but we need to preserve Medicare. And in fact, mark my words, I mean, if Obamacare actually, is ever fully enacted, although I guess the good news is the country will probably collapse before that happens. But if it were to happen, many of these same supposed conservatives who are so anti-Obamacare are going to be the ones promising not to cut it. Just like they don't want to cut Medicare, just like they don't want to cut Social Security. There were plenty of conservatives who were opposed to Social Security back in the 1930s when Roosevelt first, came up with the harebrained scheme. But, they're all in bed with it now. Nobody wants to tell the truth about Social Security. Everybody wants to pretend, everybody paid into this program. No one paid into Social Security. No one paid into Medicare. All that money was spent. We spent it on the Second World War. We spent it on the Vietnam War. We spent it on the Iraq War. We spent it on the war on poverty. We spent it sending people to the moon. Unfortunately, Neil Armstrong died today, but we wasted a lot of money on that, on the space race, on all the things that we did, on borrowed money. That's all that. That's where all the Social Security money went. That's where all the Medicare money went. There's no money left. When the government sends out a Medicare check or a Social Security check, the money comes from general taxation. It comes from the same source as welfare and food stamps. There's no difference. Of course, the politicians want to pretend that this is something different, that people paid into it, like there's some account somewhere with your name on it. There's nothing there. Sure, the government, when they spend the money, they write an IOU to themselves and they say it's a trust fund. But you can't write yourself an IOU and then claim you have an asset. If the government wants to spend any of the money that's in the so-called Social Security Trust Fund or in the Medicare Trust Fund, what does it do? It has to sell a bond to the public. Well, it can do that without the trust fund. All the trust fund means is how much money the government is committed to borrow to pay for the benefits that they can't afford. Well, borrow from whom? Who's going to lend them the money? I think the Chinese are pretty much done with buying treasuries. I mean, the Japanese are buying a few, but the yield on them is zero. How much longer can we sell them? The only buyer left is the Federal Reserve. But they don't care because they just create the money out of thin air. So what difference does it make to them what it's worth? But this real crisis is coming. I think we're going to have a sovereign debt crisis, a currency crisis. Right now, everybody is talking about Europe. Europe is the sideshow. The main event is right here in America. We are much more indebted than the countries that share the euro, and we're far less able to pay than those countries. The only reason that there is a crisis now in Europe and not in America is because interest rates in Europe rose first. Rates have gone up in countries like Greece.